Okay, so welcome everyone. This is shadowing part 2. My name is Victor.
And I'm Mark.
Okay, so in part 1, we talked about some of the reasons why we do shadowing at Simul and why it is a useful activity, a useful skill. And we also introduced you the topic of the shadowing, which is on your screen. We talked about these two charts very briefly. Can you summarize?
Yeah, so basically the chart on the left is the 1989. As you can see, the total amount of income in the US was 7.12 trillion. Okay, and then in the actual chart, you can see that the bottom 15%, the bottom 50% of income earners only took home 15% of the total income, whereas the middle 50 to 90% of income earners, they took 42%. Okay, but however, the top 10% of income earners, they had a massive 42% of, if you like, the income pie.
And really, we could say that it's a story of growing inequality, particularly in terms of income distribution. I'm not going to go into the details of the chart on the right. You already listened to it in part number 1. So we're going to actually play the recording. And one important point is when you actually do shadowing, the first time you listen to the recording, simply look at the chart on the first page as you were listening and just see how the information you can hear is actually connected to the chart in front of you, just to introduce you to the topic and help you to remember some of the numbers and some of the information. After you've done that, play the recording again, but pause after every sentence and then repeat exactly what you heard. You should record yourself on your smartphone or any kind of recording device. After that, once you've finished doing that, you should actually listen to your own recording and listen to the original shadowing recording and see if you missed any of the words, particularly articles or prepositions, or if there's something strange in your pronunciation. And then, of course, finally, you should actually play the whole recording straight through without pauses and try to shadow as you actually hear it and record yourself again. Okay, so go through these steps and good luck.
Looking at the pre-tax income distribution PowerPoint slide behind me, we can see some significant developments over recent decades in the United States. The two charts show national income, which is the net result of all economic activities of any country during a period of 1 year, valued in terms of money. It is a good measure of the overall amount of economic activity and how much different groups get from this money pie. In 1989, the total size of the national income of the United States economy was just over $7 trillion. By 2016, it approached 13 trillion, and this year it has probably passed the 15 trillion mark. Therefore, you could say the household income pie had just about doubled in size. Combined with a small increase in the population size over the same time, good news perhaps. More money out there for about the same number of people. Perhaps not. A closer look at these charts reveals some disturbing facts about income distribution. The most obvious change since 1989 is the proportion going to the top 10% of income earners. By high income, we mean those wealthy people who earn over $100,000 a year, right up to the millions. This group of people's share of the pie rose from 42% in 1989 to 50% in 2016. This figure has increased since then to almost 55% according to the most recent figures. The rich are getting even richer. The bad news is that for the bottom 50% of income earners, their share of the pie has shrunk somewhat. This group of people often earn just enough to cover basic living expenses, and a fair percentage from this group are below the poverty line. Even more worrying is the dwindling share of the pie of the middle income earners. This group represents the so-called middle class, families with mortgages, school fees to pay, and credit card debts. Their share of the national income was down to 37%, and during the 4 years of the Trump administration, it shrank further to just below 35%. Hard-working, ordinary Americans are gradually losing out on their share of prosperity.
Okay, so hopefully you have finished the shadowing and you've listened to your recording of the shadowing. So let's just go through some of the basic vocabulary. On the screen for you now is the actual transcript of the recording. And we'll go through some of the terms and words in yellow. National income.
National income. Well, this is the total amount of money earned.
I think sometimes called GNP.
Gross national product. Yeah.
Gross national product, but like it's a total amount of money in the system for one economy. When I say the word money pie.
Well, basically, as you saw the charts are round like a pie and divided up. So it's just how much there is available, really.
It is a metaphor, like we slice up the pie, everyone gets a slice, some people get a bigger slice, other people get less. And I think that also is very similar for the other term, which is income pie. And basically it's, the amount of salary or the amount of wages that people earn.
Yeah.
So related to that is the share of the pie.
Yeah, which is just basically how much each segment of the population earned.
Yeah.
Remember, it was the bottom 50%, then the middle 50 to 90%, and finally the top 10% of earners.
And the so-called poverty line, the poverty level, it's a definition, and every country has a different level. Generally, it is the absolute minimum that a person can survive on.
Yeah, definitely.
The lowest amount of money, and it varies according to each country. But it's the line where if you are below the poverty line, you are actually officially poor.
Yeah, and probably receiving state benefits.
Yes. And then, of course, dwindling share of so dwindling. How would
Dwindling, shrinking, getting smaller.
It's getting smaller. And of course, a mortgage.
Basically, this is the loan from the bank, specifically to buy a house or buy some property.
And notice, in order to qualify for a mortgage, you need to have a steady income. You need to have a certain level of income. So, yeah, generally people below the poverty line cannot actually get a mortgage.
Yeah.
So losing out on their share of prosperity.
Basically, the system has really, in a sense, broken down because the total amount of money is not being shared out fairly and equally.
I think sometimes people call it the American dream. Everyone is supposed to have a share of prosperity. Unfortunately, it's very much an unequal share.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, it's a good idea to perhaps review the key points from the presentation. So up on the screen for you now are the 5 main topics which the shadowing recording covered. Okay, so first of all, really try to summarize yourself, the general topic of the presentation. It's good to, explain exactly what is the money pie.
And then you should go on and talk about, okay, what's happened since 1989. And also, I think the impact on people is another big area which is focused on in the shadowing. So, yeah.
and of course the general message, the overall message and the conclusion. It's a good idea to really try to explain it yourself. Perhaps you could explain it to your friend or someone in your family, you know, anyone who's going to listen to you, try to explain these key points in English and or arrange the answers into full sentences. Finally, and this is up to you, after this presentation, there's a couple of interesting questions that you can research yourself.
Yes, as you can see, it says, how similar or different is the situation in America compared to Japan in recent years?
And, you know, often the next question is, you know, people have been talking about Japan and Japan's famous middle class. And, you know, in recent years, this middle class is now under threat, is shrinking. And then, of course, general question.
Yep. What is happening to inequality in Japan?
Okay, so yeah, try to research and, you know, try to answer these questions. It helps you to review some of the vocabulary, and also it gives you more information about the topic. Good. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Yep, thank you. And as I said, do keep practicing shadowing. You can do it with any recorded material now that you know the different steps to take.
And always try to record yourself so that you're able to listen to yourself and to pick up some of your own mistakes. And hopefully that will help you to improve.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
So thank you very much.